to kickstart your creativity, it's often said that the best way is to impose limits on yourself. There are so many potential options out there that if you impose some kind of restriction, even more or less randomly, that will help prevent a sense of paralysis at the enormous range of potential choices. But how far can you take this limitation idea? Well, I thought I'd take a look and see what composers have done using just one note. You can't get much more limited than that, but you'd be amazed how many composers have tried this and the range of pieces that they've come up with. We'll talk about harmony in a minute, but let's start with one-note melodies, and where else to start but this one.
This is just a little samba, but upon a single note. Other notes are bound to follow, but the rule is still that note.
Now this is not only a great tune, which seems like a weird thing to say about a one-note melody, but it's also a classic of its type. The melody line's on one note, but the chords change below, keeping the interest alive. Over the past 10 years, songs with one-note melodies have become increasingly common in popular music. There was even this BBC News feature on how Taylor Swift in particular uses a lot of them.
You're stuck in my head, stuck in my heart, stuck in my body. It's a little blurry how the whole thing started. I don't even really know what you intended. I got this feeling on the summer day when you were gone.
But I want to focus on being creative and that idea of deliberately limiting ourselves. Well, you'll notice for starters that most of these aren't really one-note melodies, they're usually mostly one note. So let's really limit ourselves to melodies with just one note and see what we can find. One of my favourite examples is a version of the internet meme on All Star by Smash Mouth, where the song's been digitally altered to be all on one note.
If you don't go, you'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play.
Sounds surprisingly convincing as a song, I think. As SoundCloud commentator Goop said, it's like being on the verge of yawning, but never yawning. Another example is YouTuber Rob Scallon, who got his followers to submit videos of themselves playing the note E, and he creatively merged them all into a very entertaining one-note song. Now we're getting somewhere, that's pretty creative. And you'll notice what he did there. By limiting what he allowed himself in terms of pitch, he was forced to look at other aspects of sound, in this case, the instrumentation. Now this is an idea that was talked about by Arnold Schoenberg in his book Harmonielehre, or The Theory of Harmony. Schoenberg complained that there was too much emphasis on pitch. The way he saw it, a tone consists of three aspects: its pitch, its colour, and its volume. And he came up with this idea he called Klangfarben melody, tone colour melody, where the other two aspects of the tone are equal to the pitch. What you're hearing now is the opening of the third movement of Schoenberg's 5 orchestral pieces opus 16 from 1909, where he tried to put this concept into practice. But it took another 50 years before someone thought to push Schoenberg's idea to its logical extreme and write a piece where the pitch never changes. The only thing that changes is the texture, dynamics, register, and okay, maybe the odd microtonal pitch bend here and there. This is Quattro Pezzi su una nota sola, 4 pieces on a single note by Giacinto Scelsi, a reclusive Italian composer who was investigating ways of communicating what he thought of as a higher, transcendent reality to the listener. Now Scelsi was a pretty interesting character. He never allowed photographs of himself to be associated with his music, although there's a couple of them out there. And just like Prince, he preferred to be known by a symbol, a line under a circle. But what about if we only have one instrument? Well, how about this for a creative challenge? The Hungarian composer György Ligeti wrote a series of short pieces called Musica Ricercata, in which each piece is allowed to use just one more note than the previous one. So the first piece has to have one note. Here's how you write a one-note piece for solo piano. Actually, I lied, because Ever the Comedian, Ligeti's piece actually has 2 notes. He just saves the second for the very end. But now we're getting somewhere. By limiting himself to one note on one instrument, Ligeti is forced to focus on rhythm. His piece here uses rhythmic displacement to shift the emphasis of the phrase, so what was once an upbeat becomes a downbeat.
Look what you just made me do, look what you just made me.
So for Ligeti, the new focus became rhythm. For Scelsi, it was tone colour. Now for all its extremity, you can even take Scelsi's idea a stage further. This is Four Violins, a 30-minute piece by the early minimalist pioneer Tony Conrad, in which Conrad overdubbed himself playing a distorted violin drone. The distortion is the key thing because even though there is only one note, no change in pitch or register or dynamics or rhythm, there's still a lot going on. Like any drone music, it makes you tune out of any attempt to find a forward-moving narrative to the music and instead focus on the interior sounds of the notes. If you think that's a stretch, what about Randy Gibson's concisely titled The Four Pillars Appearing from the Equal D Under Resonating Apparitions of the Eternal Process in the Midwinter Starfield? A piece which uses a single note on a single piano and lasts for 3 hours. Now I have to say I was sceptical when I heard about this piece, but having watched a portion of it online, I was surprised by how engrossing it was. Although it is only the note D throughout, Gibson uses subtle electronic enhancement to bring out various overtones of the note. So you actually become aware of a huge spectrum of colour within the note. Now if you want to start trolling me, you might say they're all cheating. The Scelsi had those bends, the Ligeti has a second note at the end, even the Gibson finds extra notes within the note. But I think you'd be missing the point. What all these composers have been trying to do is stripping away the familiar surface of music, the pitch, and through that forcing themselves to observe other aspects, the rhythm, the timbre, the volume, that might normally get overlooked. And I find that pretty inspiring. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any ideas for subjects you'd like me to cover in future videos, do please put them in the comments below. And I'm also accepting submissions at the moment. If you're a young composer or an inexperienced composer and you'd like me to look at your score and I maybe talk about it in a future video, please send them through to davidbrucecomposer@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe and see you next time.